What's up, good people? I'm just Major. You saw the title. You liked the Marjorie. We're here to talk about it. Kroger. Kroger, y'all got a lot going on. I'm gonna need y'all to come on in the room. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. Let's check it out.
And that breaking news, one of Cincinnati's biggest employers is cutting nearly 1,000 jobs, hundreds of them here locally. Thanks for joining us here at 4 o'clock. I'm Cherie Palello.
And I'm Ashley Kirkland. We're talking about Kroger, and the company is shedding workers in a push to simplify operations and also ramp up the grocery giant's focus on lower prices and new stores. WLWT News 5's Todd Dykes is live with more. Todd?
Yeah, Ashley and Cherie, this is surely a difficult day for around 200 families of local Kroger workers who found out that their efforts are no longer needed. Those disappearing jobs, all part of a company-wide round of layoffs, involving nearly 1,000 job cuts across the country. Kroger's interim CEO, Ron Sargent, describing the cuts as a meaningful number of associate reductions, adding these decisions are never easy, but we know thoughtful yet difficult choices are necessary to set up our organization for continued success. That quote goes on to say, while we announced role reductions today, we continue to grow and reinvest those savings in areas that drive our strategy and benefit our customers directly, and lower prices.
Usually, those job cuts come right before an earnings report, and they normally cut those jobs in order to boost the stock price. Well, guess what? Kroger has an earnings report in 2 days.
New store growth and more jobs in stores. It's not clear at this point which divisions are going to see these cuts. It does appear that today's announcement was not necessarily being fueled by artificial intelligence. That's what a lot of people jump to these days. It seems to have been driven more, or at least in part, by what had been a boost in hiring during the COVID-19 pandemic, and also the addition of workers ahead of what turned out to be Kroger's failed merger with competing grocery chain Albertsons. Reporting live here in Newport, Todd Dykes, WLWT News 5.
Todd, very concerning for a lot of people around here. Do you know if Kroger shoppers will see any direct impact from today's announcement?
Well, if anything, Ashley, it appears that shoppers may end up catching a break. As mentioned, Kroger says they say they plan to reinvest in areas that benefit customers, and that involves, again, lowering prices, increasing access to store associates. And Kroger's also building up its real estate portfolio, apparently in a move to pave the way to build more stores to serve more people. Ashley?
All right, we'll see how it all shakes out. Todd Dykes reporting live for us. Thanks so much, Todd.
So he talked about the failed merger when they were trying to buy Albertsons. So we'll take a look at that as well. Kroger laying off fewer than 1,000 corporate associates. Source says. Kroger on Tuesday announced laying off corporate associates as detailed in a memo, with a source familiar with the reduction stating that fewer than 1,000 employees will be impacted. The source added that staff workers in stores, manufacturing facilities, or distribution centers were not laid off. So this is all corporate. All corporate. Whether it's Cincinnati, the guy just reported all across the country, but in the stores, manufacturing centers, distribution centers, they're not being affected. Going after the big money. The company, as of February, employed over 409,000 staff, with most of them working in stores. The grocer said in June it would close about 60 underperforming stores over the next 18 months. Normally, those underperforming stores are usually more so because of crime. When people are stealing day in and day out, and you cannot mitigate it because either you don't want to spend the money to hire law enforcement to mitigate these thefts, or you won't hire security to mitigate it, and security really can't mitigate much because they don't have arresting power, so they can't just stop you and arrest you. So Yeah, a lot of stores, and Kroger isn't the only one, and they're underperforming, like I said, a lot of times because of theft, and then they're in bad neighborhoods. In the past few months, we have all looked for ways to simplify our organization, shift resources closer to our customers, and focus on work that creates the most value, said Kroger's interim CEO, Ron Sargent. We're going to talk about why he's interim as well. In a memo seen by Reuters, Kroger will reinvest into other areas such as lowering prices, opening new locations, and creating store-level jobs, the memo added. Bloomberg News had reported layoffs of nearly 1,000 corporate workers earlier on Tuesday, citing the memo from Sargent. With the Kroger Albertsons merger off the table, Kroger is moving to reset its cost base and streamline operations. Many decisions were put on hold during the merger process, so it makes sense that we're seeing more major business decisions in recent months. Kroger and Albertsons have proposed a $25 billion merger, which was blocked by a U.S. judge in December, leading to a legal battle between the companies. Kroger had bumped its annual sales growth forecast after posting upbeat first quarter results in June, and said it would invest in lowering prices to attract budget-conscious consumers amid tariff-induced uncertainty. So once again, we have another merger, and we talked about the what was that, the Spirit and the JetBlue merger being blocked as well. So normally, again, what happens is these judges will block these mergers because of supposed monopolies that they don't want. Well, not sure how much of a monopoly they can get, other than Amazon buying, what was it, Whole Foods, and then you got Walmart all over the country, except in California. Well, not California, may not be all of California, but I know LA, there are no Walmarts in LA, and that's for a specific reason. So, but yeah, so basically, these judges will block these mergers because they don't want, these companies so-called creating, monopolies. But on to the next one. Let's see what else Kroger got going on.
Tonight, WLWT investigates what's been a months-long corporate secret could come to light thanks to a long-running lawsuit.
One side, you have Grammy-nominated singer Jewel, and then on the other side, former Kroger CEO Rodney McMullen. And WLWT News 5's Todd Dykes here now, live to explain what's on the line. Hi, Todd.
Hi, Mike and Sheree. Yeah, what's on the line is the answer to a question that has gone mostly unanswered since Kroger's former CEO Rodney McMullen suddenly resigned 5 months ago.
So now, former CEO suddenly resigned a few months ago. Now you got the interim, Ron Sargent.
Showdown is shedding light on a corporate mystery involving former Kroger CEO Rodney McMullen.
Be patient, be kind to one another, be kind to our associates.
That's McMullen during the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. In March, the grocery giant shocked the business world by announcing McMullen had resigned. Kroger cited an investigation of McMullen's personal conduct, but said little else.
Hard for many people to imagine what would it be like without him being in that role, and why.
Why McMullen stepped aside is now at the heart of a lawsuit filed in part by the singer-songwriter Jewel. She and a partner are suing Kroger based on their involvement in getting the grocery chain's annual wellness festival off the ground. Jewel's attorneys say asking McMullen why he stepped down could speak to McMullen's credibility as a trial witness and be relevant to, quote, an allegedly corrupt corporate culture at Kroger. According to the presiding judge, McMullen has argued that line of questioning is completely irrelevant and would be embarrassing. 1 week ago, the judge ordered McMullen to provide a written explanation explaining why he resigned and including the identities of those involved. Today is the deadline for Judge Christian Jenkins to get that explanation. Now, aside from the word embarrassing, additional details of McMullen's resignation may never come to light. It all depends on whether Judge Jenkins keeps McMullen's explanation off limits from the public, or if he rules that it's fair games for the plaintiffs to discuss when the trial over Kroger's Wellness Festival starts, and that is scheduled to happen in May. Reporting live tonight, Todd Dykes, WWT News 5.
Kroger, man. All right, we'll see what's going on. So like I said, they got an earnings report due in 2 days on the 11th, and we'll see what the earnings do since they laid off those people. I don't know if all 1,000 have been laid off. I just saw in the earlier report that I just showed you that 200 employees had been laid off already. So we'll see how it goes. All right, people, that's going to be it for today. 3,000 subscribers. Loaded.